Can a keto diet actually eliminate cancer growth? Or is that just another health myth circulating online? Because right now, there's a growing belief that if you simply cut carbs, enter ketosis, and starve cancer cells of sugar, the problem disappears. But here's what's really going on inside your body. Cancer is not just a sugar problem. It's a metabolic, hormonal, and cellular communication problem. And while nutrition absolutely plays a powerful role, the idea that one diet alone can eliminate cancer is far more complex. And frankly, often misunderstood. Let me explain this with a simple framework. Every cell in your body has two main fuel systems. One uses glucose, the other uses ketones and fat. Now, some cancer cells are heavily dependent on glucose. That's true. This is why strategies like ketogenic diets are being researched. But not all cancers behave the same way. Some adapt, some switch fuel sources, and some become even more aggressive under metabolic stress. So the real question is not, can keto cure cancer? The better question is, how does metabolism influence cancer growth? And where does keto actually fit into that picture? Because when you understand that, everything changes. In this video, I'm going to break this down step by step, like we're standing at a whiteboard together. We'll cover what research actually shows about keto and cancer, why insulin and blood sugar matter more than you think, the biggest misconceptions that mislead patients, and most importantly, what you can realistically do to support your body. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing, because I post content like this every day, focused on real physiology, not hype. Let's start by clearing up the biggest misunderstanding. Before we go deeper, let's map out the 6 most important truths you need to understand. Because this topic is often oversimplified, and that's where confusion begins. Here are the 6 science-backed insights we're going to break down. 1. Sugar feeds cancer, but that's only part of the story. Yes, many cancer cells rely heavily on glucose, but your body tightly regulates blood sugar, even on keto. So the idea of starving cancer completely is more complicated than it sounds. 2. Insulin is a bigger driver than glucose itself. Here's what most people miss. Insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone, it's also a growth signal. High insulin can promote tumor growth, inflammation, and cellular proliferation. 3. Not all cancers respond the same way to keto. Some tumors are metabolically inflexible and struggle without glucose. Others adapt and can use ketones or alternative fuels. This variability matters. 4. Keto may support treatment, but it's not a standalone cure. What the research shows is that ketogenic diets may enhance outcomes when combined with therapies like chemotherapy or radiation, not replace them. 5. The metabolic environment matters more than any single food. It's not just about carbs. It's about inflammation, mitochondrial health, oxidative stress, and hormonal balance, the entire internal environment. 6. Long-term success depends on sustainable metabolic strategies. Extreme restriction without personalization can backfire. The goal is metabolic flexibility, not just staying in ketosis forever. Now, here's the key takeaway before we go deeper. This is not about fear. This is about understanding your biology, so you can make smarter, more strategic decisions. Let's start with the most common belief I hear in clinic. 1. Sugar feeds cancer. And this one surprises my patients the most. Most of my patients tell me, if I just cut out all sugar, I can starve cancer completely. They believe cancer cells will simply die if glucose is removed from the diet. But here's what's actually happening inside your body. Your body will never allow blood sugar to drop to 0, even on a strict ketogenic diet. The liver has a built-in survival mechanism called gluconeogenesis, where it produces glucose from protein and fat. So even if you eat 0 carbs, your body still maintains a baseline level of glucose because your brain, red blood cells, and certain tissues depend on it. Now, yes, many cancer cells rely heavily on glucose. This is known as the Warburg Effect. But that doesn't mean you can completely starve them. What you can do is reduce excess glucose spikes and, more importantly, lower insulin, which we'll talk about next. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day, breaking down complex health topics into real, usable strategies. Think of your body like a backup power system. Even if the main electricity, dietary carbs, goes out, your generator, the liver, kicks in and keeps essential systems running. You can't just turn off the power completely. Research published in the journal Cancer and Metabolism shows that while many tumors exhibit increased glucose uptake, the body maintains blood glucose within a narrow range, even during prolonged fasting or ketosis. My recommendation for every patient: focus on stabilizing blood sugar, not eliminating it. Start with a simple habit. Avoid refined sugars and ultra-processed carbs, and build meals around protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Don't chase extremes, fix the foundation. Today, 2. Insulin is the real driver, and almost nobody talks about this one. Almost every patient I've seen with this says, as long as my sugar is low, I'm safe. They focus only on glucose, completely ignoring insulin. But here's what's actually happening inside your body. Insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone, it's a growth signal. When insulin is chronically elevated, it activates pathways like IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which can stimulate cell division and reduce apoptosis, the natural process where damaged cells are supposed to die. In simple terms, high insulin doesn't just manage sugar. It can tell cells to grow and multiply, including abnormal ones. This is why two people can have similar blood sugar levels, but very different cancer risk profiles depending on their insulin levels. And this is where keto can play a role, by lowering insulin levels, not by magically eliminating glucose. Think of insulin like a construction foreman. Glucose is just the building material, but insulin is the one giving orders. Build more, grow faster, don't shut down. If that foreman never stops giving orders, even damaged structures keep expanding. According to research published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology, elevated insulin levels are associated with increased cancer progression and mortality in several cancers, including breast and colorectal cancer. My recommendation for every patient: create insulin gaps during your day. Start simple. Allow at least 12-14 hours overnight without eating. No late-night snacking. This gives your insulin time to drop and your body time to reset. Control insulin, or it will control the outcome, starting now. 3. Not all cancers respond to keto, and this one surprises my patients the most. Most of my patients tell me, cancer cells can't use fat or ketones, so keto will stop all cancer growth. They assume every tumor is metabolically weak in the same way. But here's what's actually happening inside your body. Cancer is not one disease. It's hundreds of different diseases with different metabolic behaviors. Some tumors are metabolically inflexible. They rely heavily on glucose and struggle when carbs are restricted. But others are metabolically adaptable. They can shift and start using ketones, fatty acids, or even amino acids as fuel. That means, in some cases, a ketogenic environment may slow growth, but in others, it may have little effect. Or the tumor may adapt over time. What the research shows is variability, not a one-size-fits-all response. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day, focused on real physiology, not oversimplified health advice. Think of cancer cells like different types of vehicles. Some only run on petrol. Remove it, and they stop. But others are hybrid engines. They can switch to electric, diesel, or anything available. You're not dealing with one engine. You're dealing with an entire fleet. Research published in Nature Reviews Cancer highlights that tumor metabolic flexibility allows certain cancers to adapt to nutrient stress, including ketogenic conditions. My recommendation for every patient: don't self-prescribe extreme diets based on internet advice. Instead, focus on metabolic stability, balanced meals, consistent eating windows, avoiding ultra-processed foods, and if dealing with cancer, Always align dietary strategies with a qualified medical team. Personalization is not optional, it's critical. Start thinking that way today. 4. Keto may support treatment, but it's not a standalone cure, and this is where most people get misled. Most of my patients tell me, if I go strict keto, I won't need chemotherapy or radiation. They believe diet alone can replace medical treatment. But here's what's actually happening inside your body. A ketogenic diet may change the metabolic environment, lowering insulin, reducing glucose variability, and in some cases, increasing oxidative stress inside cancer cells. This can make certain tumors more vulnerable to treatments like chemotherapy and radiation. But it does not eliminate the tumor by itself. What the research shows is that keto can act as a supportive strategy, not a replacement. It may enhance treatment response, reduce side effects in some patients, and improve metabolic health, but it works best alongside, not instead of, evidence-based care. Think of cancer treatment like a battle. Medical therapies are your primary weapons. Keto is not the weapon, it's the terrain. It can make the battlefield more favorable, but it doesn't fight the war on its own. Studies in journals like Frontiers in Nutrition report that ketogenic diets may improve therapeutic outcomes in certain cancers when combined with standard treatments, but there is no evidence supporting keto as a standalone cure. My recommendation for every patient: if you're exploring nutritional strategies, communicate with your doctor. Build a coordinated plan that includes medical treatment, nutritional support, sleep and stress management, not isolation, integration. Don't replace what works. Strengthen it, starting today. 5. The metabolic environment matters more than any single diet, and almost nobody talks about this one. Almost every patient I've seen with this says, just tell me what to eat. Keto, vegan, carnivore, which one cures it? They're looking for one perfect diet to fix everything. But here's what's actually happening inside your body. Cancer doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in an environment. That environment is shaped by chronic inflammation, insulin levels, mitochondrial function, oxidative stress, hormonal signaling. You can follow a ketogenic diet, but if you're sleeping 4 hours, stressed all day, inflamed and sedentary, the internal environment still supports dysfunction. On the other hand, someone with balanced blood sugar, low inflammation, good sleep, and stable hormones, even without perfect keto, may create a far less favorable environment for abnormal cell growth. This is the deeper level most people miss. If this is helping you see the bigger picture, consider subscribing. I break this down every day in a practical, no-hype way. Think of your body like soil in a garden. Cancer cells are like seeds. You can't always control whether a seed appears, but you can control the soil. Healthy soil makes it harder for weeds to grow. Research published in The Lancet Oncology links chronic inflammation and metabolic dysfunction to increased cancer risk and progression across multiple cancer types. My recommendation for every patient: start with one foundational habit. Walk 20-30 minutes daily. It improves insulin sensitivity, reduces inflammation, supports mitochondrial health, and lowers stress all at once. Fix the environment, or nothing else will stick. Start today. 6. Long-term success depends on metabolic flexibility. And this one surprises my patients the most. Most of my patients tell me, I need to stay in strict ketosis forever. That's the only way to stay healthy. They think being locked into one fuel system is the goal, but here's what's actually happening inside your body. Your body was designed for metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between burning glucose and fat efficiently. Staying in constant, rigid ketosis without personalization can sometimes lead to hormonal imbalances, elevated stress hormones like cortisol, reduced thyroid function in some individuals. The goal is not to be stuck in one mode. The goal is to adapt efficiently based on demand, using fat when needed, glucose when appropriate, and maintaining overall metabolic resilience. Keto can be a powerful tool, but it's not meant to become a metabolic prison. Think of your metabolism like a hybrid car. It runs best when it can switch between electric and fuel modes depending on the situation. If you lock it into just one mode forever, performance eventually suffers. Research in cell metabolism highlights that metabolic flexibility is a key marker of long-term metabolic health, while rigidity in fuel use is linked to dysfunction. My recommendation for every patient: practice structured flexibility. For example, use lower carb eating most days. Occasionally include whole food carbs like vegetables or berries. Align intake with activity levels. This trains your body to stay adaptable. Don't trap your metabolism. Train it. Starting now. So, can a keto diet eliminate cancer growth? Now you understand the real answer. Not exactly, but it can influence the environment in which cancer either struggles or thrives. Let's quickly bring this all together. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your body will always maintain some level of glucose, so cancer cannot be completely starved. Insulin is a powerful growth signal, and controlling it is often more important than eliminating carbs. Different cancers behave differently. There is no one-size-fits-all metabolic response. Keto may support treatment, but it does not replace it. Your internal environment, inflammation, hormones, mitochondria, matters more than any single diet. And long-term health depends on metabolic flexibility, not rigid restriction. This is the difference between chasing a trend and understanding physiology. Because when you understand how your body actually works, you stop looking for magic solutions and start building strategies that truly support your health, your energy, and your longevity. Now, here's your next step. Don't try to overhaul everything overnight. Instead, pick one principle from today's video. Maybe it's stabilizing your blood sugar. Maybe it's extending your overnight fasting window. Maybe it's simply committing to a daily walk. Start there. Track how your body responds. Build from that foundation, because real change doesn't come from extremes. It comes from consistency. And if this gave you clarity, if it helped you see through the noise and focus on what actually matters, take a second to like the video and subscribe, and join a community that's focused on optimizing health the smart, sustainable way. I'll see you in the next one.